Hello and welcome back to Rage Gaming. My name is Hollow and this is more Shadow of the Erdtree. But in particular, this weapon right here is called Euporia, and it's not in fact the Twin Blade of Abundance, but it also is. You may see this as a familiar weapon because it was cut content that we looked at ages ago, not too long after the release of Elden Ring. It's finally here though, and it is officially in the DLC. The real name is Euporia, but it is indeed the same thing. It quite literally says in the description at the top, Twin Blade symbolizing abundance. As a Twin Blade, it's kind of a quality weapon with Faith as the main stat. So if you want to have a look, at plus 10, this is descaling in strength and dex, but then B-scaling in Faith, dealing a mix of physical and holy damage, which is more rare in this DLC, but also very effective in many areas of course. The moveset, when you're two-handing it, is incredibly quick, so I think a successive attack build is going to be very effective, whereas the charge heavy deals many attacks in one go. Of course, like any Twin Blade, you're dealing lots of hits very quickly. But there's two properties to this that are particularly interesting. The first property, as explained in the description, is that you will generate luster by dealing damage to foes, though specifically those that live in death, so the undead enemies, that won't have an effect. But the idea is that the weapon's wilting away, and by dealing damage, you kind of bring it back to life. Keep that in mind as I use the Ash of War here, which is essentially a really long channel of many hits. That's the weak version. As you build life back into the blade, it begins to glow. When it's fully charged, you'll deal a max damage version of this Euporia Vortex, though using this Ash of War consumes the current blade's luster, so the idea is to charge it up and then let it fly. I think a build that's going to be about enhancing that Ash of War damage through something like Shard of Alexander, increasing your holy damage of course, and then successive hits is going to be incredible. But there's two sides to that Ash of War spin. There's the actual kind of spiral that we've shown, but when you see that I've got this kind of lit up, the special kind of flare, if we take a look at it from the side, you can see how it's firing a holy laser, much like say you would use the Sword of Night and Flame, and much like that's a mini version of the Comet Azure, this is the same as that, just a holy version. So if you're able to hit with that laser and the spin in full, there should be a lot of damage potential there. Here's a quick showcase of it against a particularly strong enemy, at least for a starting area, so I'm just going to double buff up to make myself deal as much damage as possible. And you can see the base attacks are pretty damn incredible, to the point where I killed this guy with just some light attacks. By dealing a little bit of damage, we have a little bit of holy light generating, but that was not nearly enough, and it died so quick. So here's just a bunch of basic enemies we're absolutely going to ream through and charge up the blade. Now you can get a good look at how it's very much glowing and ready to be unleashed. With that in mind, I've honestly had a harder time than I expected reaching that max level charge so that I can unleash it on a target, because the build up takes a little bit of time and then you don't have that long of a window to actually unleash the Ash. I think it's going to be very effective and reliable in a boss fight, but when you're progressing an area, you just kind of unleash it whenever it's lit up rather than holding on to that power buff for the right moment. In any case, the damage potential is obviously very high here, and it's just been very effective against everything that I've used it against. Too effective really, because I've been trying to get the power buff and then unleash that for some nice footage, and I'm having a hard time doing that. So it's a very cool weapon. Let's now cover how you get it and where. To find Euporia, you're going to need to come to an area called Inner Ilim, which is a final area. It's going to require some major progression, but technically you only need to kill 2 remembrance bosses to achieve this. The first is in the Shadow Keep. You might expect this. You're going to need to kill Messmer and his dark chamber to get his flame, which we will use to burn something called a sealing tree. To reach Messmer for the first time, you're just going to need to come to this region, the Scadu Altus, and head to the Shadow Keep. You will need to defeat just a regular boss in the main gate plaza, and then progress to the main chamber, the storehouse first floor, which looks like this when you first enter it. Do note that on the west side of the room on the ground floor is an elevator exit, which will take you to the next region we're going to need to go to after you defeat Messmer. For the moment though, you have this main room and you want to go to the north side behind the statue to begin climbing the staircase all the way up. Eventually you'll reach the 4th floor and then the 7th floor, which is the closest grace to where we need to go. So from the 7th floor, you're going to exit the room that you start in and cross over to the east side. Here we can hop down where there's actually kind of a lever in this corner lit up very obviously, which you pull and turns the contraption in the middle. That allows you to jump across this bridge and actually make some more progress. So we're going to climb up here and then carefully jump onto the kind of statue shaped bridge. And at the end of that, we're going to make a nice sprint jump just to make it it to the other side, dropping down onto this balcony and exiting. Be aware there's a Marika statue here, so if you do die, you get to continue from this point. We just turn right and climb the stairs, and before you know it, you're going to be at the top where we have the entrance to Messmer's chamber. Also, there will be like a knight captain here that you're going to have to defeat, but you will be rewarded with a Scadu fragment on the other side of that door, which is nice. At the top of these stairs, we have the Grace right before the boss room. I won't be spoiling the Messmer fight, but you're going to need to defeat him, and then you'll have his flame to take to the next location. So in short, we'll start from the storehouse, or the storehouse first floor Grace, and go west to that elevator room that I just showed you before. So just to give you another look, just through there, and there's an elevator at the end. Progressing through this area on the map until you get to this Grace, the West Rampart. On Torrent, we're just going to cross this bridge as quick as we can, kill the enemy at the end or ignore him. And you have this Grace, the Viaduct Minor Tower. We need to get to the other side of this region. It's pretty easy to do. From here, we follow west into a ruin, and eventually by passing through that ruin, you'll come out on the other side where this is water and the next Grace and also a Miquella cross. From this cross, we can see where our objective is, that hidden city. But first, we're going to need to cross this broken bridge where there is going to be a furnace golem in your way. So past this broken bridge, run past the golem or defeat it, whatever you want. There's a Grace right here, and that's the nearest Grace that we need to go to. So from the ancient ruins on the west side, we're going to need to get over here to the Church of the Bud. This is a pretty straightforward route, but you can follow along if you want to. We head south and then eventually turn north, and that's pretty much the direction we're going to be going. Obviously, just be aware that there's these annoying bouncing shots from these guys, so we want to avoid those as best we can, and we're just going to keep going west as much as we can, ignoring everything in here until we come around to the corner here where we do in fact have this lift to use. So let's activate that and then go up. At the top here, we exit and continue facing north like I've been saying, and just over here on the left side, kind of northwest, is the Church of the Bud region. It's kind of hard to miss. We have this lit up entrance, and then it all begins to turn red. We have these horrible scarlet rot buds beginning. Pass through here, and very quickly on my left here, we have a staircase leading up to that Grace we showed on the map, just turning to the east, and there's the Grace. At this Grace, we're in front of another Remembrance boss fight. Again, I will not be spoiling it for you. So defeat that boss, and you'll be able to pass into the boss room and to the other side. By exiting the boss room on the south side, we'll climb this up to what is known as the ceiling tree. And again, you're going to need the Messmer flame to actually cancel out the ceiling tree, revealing that final area. Also, when you do this, it will instantly teleport you to that area. So let's follow on the route to get there very quickly. The second Grace is not far from the first. We're just going to climb the staircase and head on inside. The direction you want to go is kind of revealed to you as this guy comes down and challenges you. You can fight him or run past him. I'm just going to run past him for this point of this video. And inside here, we actually have our next Grace. So just find a way around. I believe you just go to the south side and then there's a staircase leading up and there's our second Grace. So from the first rise or second Grace at this region, we're actually going to turn kind of southwest, which is going to lead us out of here. Leading up this staircase, we have a bunch of enemies that we're going to deal with or run past. It's up to you. To let you know you're going to the right location though, there's this big dude you definitely want to take seriously. Careful of the drop there, but we're just going to ignore him as best we can and climb this staircase and double back on ourselves at the top of it. So at the top of that staircase, we've got a couple of annoying enemies, and now we're facing north. Do be careful here. There's a very strong enemy that does in fact respawn, so you can farm him for his stuff. So here's some footage where I killed him, and then we're going to climb up the stairs. Here we've got two annoying mage guys, so I'd recommend you take this part slow and kill them because they will catch you out. Honestly, you just need to kill the first one though. Once he's defeated, we can run up the stairs and open this door to the third Grace. Alright, so for this final section, jumping in live, we are at the Spiral Rise Grace, which is the third Grace of the area. And where we actually came in, we're now going to turn around. So the doors we just opened, we're actually going to go back through those. So there's a couple of enemies here that you're going to need to deal with. This annoying range guy, and then we have the mage caster that's spawning all those things under you. So I'm just going to run over there and kill him. So now he's defeated. I'm not being attacked at the same time, so I can think. We can actually turn around here and face north. There's a stairway leading down. And if you go through this kind of alcove, you're going to find that there's an area we can drop to with an item to sort of highlight that you're going there. Just as a heads up, I'm probably not going to pick up all the items just to focus on showing you where to go, but you can stop and properly explore and get all the items if you want. In any case, we're facing south to where this balcony is, and we're going to drop down and continue. This section's not too bad. We're just going to drop down to the east, carefully landing on the edge of these platforms so that we don't fall down. There's going to be a bunch of items that I'm going to ignore. Again, you can take your time to pick them up if you want. We're actually going to drop down here, and again, there's an item over there behind me. Keep facing east to south. I'm going to follow this around the corner carefully And where we have this message that's being very kind and telling us to jump down here, that's where we need to go. Again, facing south and then working our way to the other side of this tower on the east side. I'll just turn my lantern on, I might as well have that on. Careful with this jump because there's a little crack to prevent you from just doing a normal drop off. And then before long, we're dropping down where we do have an enemy that you just got to be wary of, though he's obviously not very strong. So for this next section, we're actually going to turn off the path and jump into a window, which is just down here on my right when facing south. So there's the window, and again, there's some nice little messages to let us know this is where the jump is. So sprinting jump, you should be able to carefully land nicely on the ledge. We can drop down into a familiar location, the Belurat Tower Settlement. At this point, there is going to be some enemies. One of them is going to be pretty tough, so I'm going to buff up and fight him. So as we exit out here, should ambush me. There we go. But he's dead, but there's still another one we're going to need to deal with. This is why I really love Flame Cleanse Me as an incantation. Also right by that scorpion spider, there is an item, scadutree fragment. Definitely don't want to miss that. At this point, we could continue north to progress the area, but we're going to go south instead to this elevator that's going to take us down a level, so let's skip to that. At the bottom of this elevator, we're just going to progress a pretty straight path. There's not really any other way you can go. It just leads down and down. We have a pack of enemies, and then we have one strong enemy coming up. Just be aware of that, so I'm going to clear these out. I'll buff up for the strong enemy as we continue to head south and now facing more west. We have one of these guys, so I'll just dispatch him as well. Cool, with his defeat, that is the last of the enemies we're going to need to deal with. As we progress here, it's just another tower that leads down another staircase, and at the end of this is an elevator, so let's skip to the bottom of that elevator. Finally, at the bottom of the elevator, dead ahead of us, is a door we're going to open, and behind that door is the exact item we're looking for. It's the weapon. It's not too convoluted of a route, but it's definitely obviously hidden, and so hopefully this direction that I've done live will help you follow along. But with that, we have Euporia, the Twinblade of Abundance, just like the cut content version. It's finally here in the game. But there you have it. That's how to get Euporia, the two main steps before that to get to this region, and then the full path to actually reach the weapon itself. I do think it's going to be very high in potential, and hopefully one of the stronger builds in the game. Something as cool as this definitely deserves to be one of the strongest options. And I don't think it's going to take much to make this hit very, very hard. If you've enjoyed the guide, do drop a like. If you guys have any extra tips around it, then let us know in the comments. But for now, I've been Hollow, you've been you. Thank you for watching.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.